are we being prosecuted/persecuted? We have spent our lives trying to be upstanding citizens. We have not been arrested for drugs, domestic violence, theft or anything else. Charles spent 8 years of service to this country in the Marine Corps. Spent 2 tours in Japan and 1 in Iraq. He has been separated from his family and put his life in danger for the safety and freedom of his citizens. We have taught our children a respect and love for this country and a respect for the judicial system from the trust of our law enforcement through the judges who sit on the bench and make decisions about lives. We have taught them as little children that, if they have a problem and we are not there, they can find someone with a badge and they will help them, that people in that position are there because they are trustworthy and have been taught the right things to do. Officers are honest or they would not have a badge. Were we wrong? Let's see how this plays out. 1. Charles was arrested January 12, 2010 for incest. 2. Sheriff's Office executed a search warrant for DNA. 3. Sheriff's Office found a weapon they were concerned about and called FBI. 4. FBI agent threatened Charles that he will arrest Amanda and take her daughter if he does not agree to them being in the house. Said that she is a felon who has been around his 4 weapons and they will put her in prison for 5 years per weapon. 5. Agents threatened Amanda with the same charges. Charges against her had been dismissed. No felony existed. 6. Sheriff's Office told Amanda the same thing and had her sign permission to search while she was sitting in a sheriff's vehicle and not free to leave. 7. With only permission to retrieve the grenade launcher, the FBI checked out every weapon in the house to determine the legality of each and checked every identification number on each weapon. During this time they even took an airsoft silencer. Then they got a warrant to check his storage unit, who even told them he had one. Then they asked him if they would be blown up when they blew the door to his storage unit. Charles asked them why they didn't just get the key from the house and open the lock and open the door. Guess they didn't think of that. They supposedly had a bomb-sniffing dog that hit on the unit but found no explosives when they searched. During the search they confiscated military items that needed to be returned to the government. This was memorabilia from Vietnam and the Washington, D.C. Senate guard that his grandfather had given him, training flight helmet in a bag and commemorative badges and retirement identification. They took Charles' flight helmet purchased for his rotary wing aircraft school in California, which he completed just before being discharged from the Marine Corps, flak jacket and items of clothing and a backpack with spent shell casings. 8. Charles was arrested by the FBI for possession of a dangerous weapon. 9. Grandfather's items and spent casings were brought back to his mother by Jean Poole, FBI agent, and she was told that it was certain that he was guilty of all charges and maybe the judge would be lenient and let the sentences run concurrently instead of consecutively, and that if his mother did not cooperate with them they would make enough charges to keep him in prison for 40 years. 10. Charles was held for 3 months and 2 days without bond in the federal jail. 11. Eventually he was found not guilty in federal court by a jury. 12. While he was in jail awaiting trial, some of our friends received a visit from Jean Poole, an FBI agent, and were told that there is DNA evidence proving that Charles is guilty of the child rape. 13. Next he was brought from Grady County with ruffles and flourishes that could have been Timothy McVeigh. 14. At his bond hearing the DA asks for a $1 million bond. It is set at $150,000. 15. All possessions were returned to attorney's office with the exception of the grenade launcher and rifle. They said everything returned was legal for him to have and he could never be charged with them again. 16. At the pre-trial hearing held on a Monday we were notified that an additional charge of possession of a stolen rifle was being added. He had purchased it from an individual several years before. During the hearing the charge of possession of a stolen grenade launcher was also added. 17. CPS said the arrangement with his girlfriend and daughter is fine, then it isn't. 18. He and his girlfriend went to court hearing about her daughter being here and the judge came out in the hallway and screamed that this is his courtroom and she better get in there and sign the papers. If he has to waste his time hearing the evidence, he will just go ahead and adjudicate the child deprived, and they would not like the outcome. 19. The screaming was done in front of the BACCA bikers who had been called to the courthouse by the district attorney, according to the sheriff. While they were there, they jostled his mom in the hallway. 20. Next hearing, there was extreme security at the courthouse first day of jury docket last August. While sitting outside the courtroom, his mom heard a member of law enforcement say that they would put him in general population when they get him to prison, let out the particulars of the case and see how long he lasts. 21. Ex-wife met him on the courthouse porch and pokes him in the face and chest while screaming expletives and saying she didn't give a swear word about the DA and didn't give a swear word about the outcome of this swear word case. He was never going to see his daughter again. He was arrested for breaking the restraining order and, at the end of booking, he was released as it was determined she was the one that broke the restraining order. He tried to get one against her and was denied. 22. Girlfriend and her daughter were made to leave the state. He had not been found guilty and the daughter had denied ever having him touch her. 23. FBI agents asked his mother if she had made a call to a bondsman about what would happen if he were to be kidnapped. She had not. If she had wanted to know, she would have called their bondsman, not another. Agents said her name was used on the phone call but would not say which bondsman. 24. First trial was continued because it was 2 weeks from pre-trial, during which time the Friday before a charge of possession of stolen rifle was added. Then during the hearing, a second charge of possession was added for the grenade launcher that he had been found not guilty of in federal court. 25. Next time the trial was put off by the DA. In October 2010, right before election. 26. Next time the trial was put off by the DA. In January 2011, right after election. 27. Ex-wife's oldest brother, Michael, stopped Charles and his sister in Walmart on Sunday before the trial and started yelling obscenities loudly at him in public. 28. Trial was held and resulted in a hung jury. Extreme security was had at the courthouse. Oklahoma Terrorism Task Force, several off-duty sheriff deputies. Sheriff sat at the end of the jury box and stared at the jury after decision was made. FBI agent told an acquaintance that there was DNA evidence to prove his guilt and they might as well go back to Texas. 29. A few days later, ex-wife's father pulls gun on Charles and his girlfriend as they were driving toward town. He was ultimately arrested and charged. 30. FBI agent called Charles' niece to the FBI office in Tennessee to question her. Told her that Charles had confided in someone that he had molested her when she was young. When she denied this, they told her that it was understandable if she had not remembered since she was asleep. 31. Girlfriend went back home to Chicago. 32. Ex-wife filed charges on Charles for stalking her. It was proven that he was at his parents' and not possible to have been true. She claimed he had been in the car that had not been in the state for many months as the girlfriend had it in Chicago. DA has refused to press charges on her for filing a false police report. 33. Prior to next trial scheduled for August, the district attorney wired Charles' ex-wife and had her video 2 conversations with a girl that wanted to be Charles' girlfriend. Then this girl called him and said the ex-wife wanted to talk to him on the phone. Charles went over and talked to his ex-wife and taped the conversation. Later he received a copy of that conversation from the DA. She had been wired trying to get Charles to admit to something which was not going to happen because he is not guilty. She broke the restraining order again. 34. Someone burned down his house early Friday morning before court. 35. Charles left town thinking that his life had been threatened twice and he was the prime suspect for the arson. He had been taped by the DA. 36. When his house burned, nobody told his parents and they found out from a friend. The FBI called his girlfriend in Chicago to see if she knew where he was and then called an acquaintance in Texas but never contacted his parents. 37. There was a hearing later in the day on the day his house was burned to have a continuance in the trial, but it was denied. He was given the impression that he was under suspicion for arson. He left on Friday night after this court appearance and told nobody where he was going. When he left our home he said he would call as soon as the hearing was over. He was at the end of his ropes. There had been 2 threats to his life. Under suspicion for arson when he lost everything he owned and held dear, been lied to and falsely accused. Then he was denied a chance to get his thoughts together after his life was over as far as he was concerned. 38. Hearing was held on a Saturday without his knowledge. He could not be found, and at this hearing he was granted an emergency continuance and the change of venue that he had requested. Could not find him at this time to get him the message. 39. Now there is a possibility he is not going to be at the trial or hearing. He is MIA. This was written by his mother Janet Dyer on Sunday, August 14th at 11 p.m. Mother of J4P July 4th Patriot. We are either all patriots. It is not a dirty word. Ask any Pearl Harbor survivor who swam out of a sinking ship, or our country will surely fall to those who are not. If you took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, that oath is never ending unless you deny your country. This is Charles' belief.